Can you take us to decision time, please, Ms Ballantyne?
Presiding Officer, can I just start by apologising on behalf of Liz Smith, who should be closing for us today. She's been called away to deal with a family issue related to the weather, and the Presiding Officer very kindly allowed it. This debate has shown clearly the considerable importance that all parties in this chamber attach to the expansion of childcare, but it has also shown clearly the extent of the challenges, most especially those faced as we try to strike the right balance in terms of extending the number of hours available and the qualitative issues in terms of ensuring there is much better accessibility and flexibility, both of which are so important to parents, and which will be the defining issues about whether or not Scotland succeeds in delivering a world-class childcare system. There is no point extending hours if they can't be used effectively, and those things have been picked up by Jenny Gilsruth and Jenny Mara during this debate. There is a demand and supply issue to this whole debate, and we need to accept that there are some tensions, more of which I'll speak about in a minute. Like any effective policy, there ought to be a solid base of evidence which underpins it, and it is on this issue that I want to concentrate the early remarks, as we cannot hope to know what will make the most effective delivery of childcare if we have not undertaken the necessary cost-benefit analysis of what works and what doesn't work. The Audit Scotland Accounts Commission was scathing in its comments that whilst the ambition was in line with the national strategic objectives, the Scottish Government did not undertake any effective analysis once the 600 hours were in place. And we are now 5 years on from that point. The Scottish Government had implemented the increase in hours without comparing the cost and potential outcomes of expanding childcare or looking at the different economic models of childcare and how they compare in terms of delivery. In other words, it did not identify what measures would indicate success or what baseline data was available, and it has not evaluated the...
John Swinney.
I'd be grateful if Michelle Ballantyne would set out what other model the government should have examined, because if she believes we should have examined some other model, she does not agree with us that we should be expanding to 1,140 hours.
Michelle Ballantyne.
I don't think it's as simple as that, Cabinet Secretary. When we talk about other models, I mean, there are models all over the world in terms of delivering effective childcare. We personally choose to look at those who are most vulnerable first and focus on them. But, I mean, my point is that you chose not to. You are playing on with it regardless. The impact of £650 million of additional fund... sorry, I've lost my place. The baseline was available. And has not evaluated the impact of the £650 million of additional funding. So, crucially, there is no evidence to show how increasing the amount 3- or 4-year-olds spend in nursery is advantageous to them. And I make this point about evidence because we have seen outside bodies criticise the Scottish Government in other areas of policy for a lack of good quality data. The assessment of the curriculum of excellence being an important example. Likewise, the report highlighted the fact that the Scottish Government still has much work to do with the Department for Work and Pensions and HM Customs and Revenue to establish exactly where the eligible 2-year-olds are so that they can be the focus of more accurate targeting. Presiding Officer, perhaps one of the most telling parts of the report is the criticism that the Scottish Government has not defined what it means by high-quality childcare, and I want to dwell on this. Ask any parent, and it is this matter which rightly has the highest priority. Firstly, parents will talk about the right numbers of fully qualified staff. We know in Scotland that early learning staff have fallen by 44.8% since 2008. So not only is this the main reason behind local authorities projecting an additional £160 million cost than the Scottish Government has estimated, since this is largely the staffing shortfall that would have to be addressed. But there is also the issue about different staffing ratios, which are required for different age groups. And some of that analysis does not appear to have been factored in appropriately. Likewise, in an age where when many professionals feel less secure in their jobs, there is the additional training that is required to ensure that staff are fully qualified to meet the modern challenges of early learning, because listening to staff, they are more substantial than most of us realise. But whilst the quality of staff is probably the main concern from parents, so too is the quality of the learning environment. And here lies the issue about providers. There are now 848 fewer early learning and childcare services than there were in 2008, a decline which has predominantly occurred in the more deprived areas. This has coincided with a decline in the number of childcare services rated good or better, which now stands at its lowest point in half a decade. And these are just the ones we know about. Last year, it was reported that since 2011, nursery inspections had fallen by a third. So there is a strong message here for the Scottish Government about quality of delivery. The questions I have about provision relate to the emphasis being in the right place. Our local authorities are not showing strong levels of interest in the area of 1- and 2-year-olds. And that is an area where the Conservatives believe there should be the most important focus, especially when it comes to our most vulnerable children. And we base that supposition on the extensive research about where early learning can make the most substantial difference. And related to this is the fear amongst many private sector providers that local authorities are much more likely to want to concentrate on the 3- and 4-year-old provision, from which it is easier to deliver economies of scale and cost savings in comparison with the more staff-intensive 1- and 2-year-old provision. Such an imbalance would be unfortunate, and I urge the Scottish Government to think carefully about the potential repercussions. And can I once again ask the Scottish Government to reconsider the illogicality of its plans to allow private, profit-making nurseries to enjoy the full 100% business rate relief, but not those of not-for-profit nurseries, which are within charitable foundations, which, after all, are in a position to provide additional places to assist local authorities with meeting increased demand. This does not make any sense at all, at a time when there is such pressure being applied to parents for a better service. These nurseries are often some who can offer more flexible hours as well. And I think also we should remember that many parents are looking to ensure that their nursery feeds into their choice of primary. And it is to the issue of flexibility that I come next. The Scottish Conservatives believe this issue is of primary importance, and therefore it is crucial to listen to the providers and to the parents about what exactly they want when it comes to make the important distinction between choice and flexibility. These two issues are related, but they are also different, and this matters. We want parents to have real choice about the kind of provider they wish to use, but we also want them to enjoy the additional advantage of flexible hours, a point that has continually been made by Fair Funding for Our Kids, whose published research shows that only 1 in 10 local nurseries provides the length of care to cover the full working day. In 19 out of Scotland's 32 local authorities, there are no public nurseries doing the full stretch of 8 till 6 p.m, and this must surely tell us something about the lack of incentives within the system. Because if we are to live up to parents' aspirations for top quality childcare, then flexible access is key. Now, I thought the Scottish Government was moving in the right direction on this, but things seem to have got stuck. On the 23rd of March 2017, when Liz Smith asked Mark MacDonald, the then Children's Minister, when he was what he was proposing, when he mentioned the possibility of a childcare account, he said, and I quote, "My officials will work in partnership with local authorities to develop the detail of the funding model and the national standard, and I can announce that we will commission a feasibility study to explore the potential costs and benefits of introducing an early learning and childcare account in the future." Liz Smith welcomed that at the time, as the Scottish Conservatives are quite sure that the account/voucher system is the best way of delivering both more choice and greater flexibility. For those local authorities which have moved closest to this system, e.g. here in Edinburgh, where there seem to be more satisfied parents and a better quality of provision. So can I ask this Children's Minister what progress has been made on this feasibility study, and when will we see a childcare account? And when, as was flagged up by the Accounts Commission, you winding me up, are you? All right, okay. Very quickly then, summing up then, it's abundantly clear that these reports have laid bare the extent of the challenges we face. I hope you have listened to some of the comments today, and I hope that your sense when you go away is not one of people being here to attack, but of a chamber that wants to see this succeed. But we need you to listen to everybody to achieve that. Thank you.